Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Recruiters with No Limits Live. It's one show where we talk about the hot topics in the staffing industry, and guess what? No scripts. Everything is freestyle. I'm here with my co-host and sidekick, John Ruffini. What's up, John?
How are you, Richard?
Full of energy like always, because we have a special guest today, and I'm telling you what, boy, her portfolio goes on and on and on. I'm not going to say any more. Kelly Merbler from the Kelly Merbler Company. Kelly.
Hi,
Welcome.
guys. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here. Thanks so much for allowing me to be part of your broadcast.
Oh, my gosh. Thanks for being here.
Anytime. But tell you what, real quick, John, current events for the week. What do you think of the job market in the last week, man? I've seen some videos out there. I showed you some stuff. I'm sure Kelly understands what's going on, too. People's putting like signs now on like Burger King. You know, instead of saying now hiring, it's saying we're out of here. What's going on?
You know what? And it's funny. I'm in Nashville this week, and lots of help wanted signs, lots of now hiring signs, and they're all over the place. And the whole Burger King thing was a reemphasis that, you know, if COVID taught people anything, they had a good chance to look at themselves and say, you know what, I'm not going to settle for just a job. I'm not just going to go in and be in a bad culture or bad environment. And it's really should be causing businesses to rethink how they treat their people and what they're doing, because that's a big driving force of why so many people are choosing not to work. I don't know what you're seeing, Kelly.
It's interesting you say that, because I just came back from a vacation in Georgia, and obviously we ate out, you know, during that trip, and every single restaurant we visited was short-staffed. And we could really feel it. The resort we stayed at was short-staffed, and they were very honest in allowing us to understand that, just if there were any challenges. They were very transparent and honest of the struggle that they were going through, trying to find help just to cover. And where we stayed was actually down by 100 people currently. And we were talking to one of the managers there, and you can really feel it when you do visit places, because there's longer lines, more wait times, and you have to be patient. But I look at it from the lens of, you're right. If you're not treating your people well, and it's not a place that they really want to be a part of and they feel valued, then you're going to have a really hard time attracting them. And I think Burger King, that sign really did make a big statement, like you said.
Not good press.
Not good at all. Oh, boy. Well, hey, John, I might just jump back into hospitality. I used to be a waiter back in the days at Ponderosa, so I might just do it again.
You have no trouble finding work, Richard.
Unfortunately, Ponderosa is no longer around, but that's another story. But Kelly, we're just going to deep dive into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and where you're at right now.
Sure. Well, I'm based here in South Florida, so I'm in West Palm Beach. That's where I was born and raised. I'm a Florida girl, native. But I started my own organization. It'll be almost 4 years ago at the end of 2021. Yeah. And I run and operate the Kelly Merbler Company, which is a leadership consulting firm. And a lot of the work that I do with many different industries, staffing included, because that was my background for 21 years, is I help organizations build great cultures, just like we're talking about right now. How do you build a culture where people feel valued and heard? And how do you really live out the values that you say you stand for as an organization through the leadership? And I work a lot doing executive coaching and doing a lot of work within leadership development for programs within organizations. So that is what I am doing. It is my passion. It's my calling. Nice. And it took a pretty brave risk to walk away from that 21-year career and that really nice paycheck, because we know in staffing, you can make a good living. Like, you can make a really good living.
It's scary going out on your own where you're giving up that little bit of that security blanket.
Good
oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. My bank actually called and asked if I was okay, because there wasn't a direct deposit coming in as they were usually as they had experienced. But yeah, it very scary, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it for the world.
That's awesome. and clearly you're passionate about it. So let's follow that path. So when you go in and train leadership and you talk about cultures, etc., have you ever gone into an environment that was noticeably toxic, and how do those conversations transpire with those leaders, if they're even self-aware of it, or do you need to help them realize that what's going on? Like, how does that transform? That's got to be a difficult conversation.
Yeah, and yes, I've worked with companies that do a great job on building culture, and they're just investing in their culture because they want to continue to build on it. And I've worked with cultures that they ask me, a question they'll ask is, hey, Kelly, can you help me come in and build a culture? And one of the first questions or statements I'll say is, well, you already have a culture. It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
It's what kind of culture is it? And are you aware of the culture that you have created within the organization or in your department? And so we'll start there with just what is some of the engagement feedback survey that they have gathered, if they have gathered it. And a lot of times there's organizations that haven't done an engagement survey or taken the time to really collect that data by talking to the people that are on the front lines and doing the work and serving the customer. So we always start there because they're closest to the business and they're closest to the customer, where they'll tell you, if you want to know how you're doing as a leader, ask the people that you lead.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They will tell you if they feel safe and able to have that conversation. But a lot of times people don't feel safe enough where they can be honest, because there's punitive damages that will come behind that. You know, if they do it in a respectful way, there's a good way and a bad way to do that. But, you know, that's where we start, is what's the feedback that the people that are actually in the trenches saying about the culture? And we work from there, because a lot of times they're just not aware of what people are feeling and don't have a close connection with what is really happening. There's a lot of communication going on and directives going on and emails going out and things that are out there, but we all communicate, but so few leaders connect and really stay close to the situation.
And Kelly, real quick, the companies you deal with, how many, like a percentage real quick, that you see that they're not talking to the people in the trenches? When you go in, are you, as most of the companies, you have to start from the foundation, from day one?
I mean, I don't have too many that are at that stage, but a lot of times it'll be maybe a smaller organization that, is just not aware of how to build leadership, and they just don't know what they don't know. I mean, it's a common mistake. I didn't know what I didn't know when I was building a team, and I needed someone to give me some instruction and some mentorship. And then I'll have organizations that are really big, like a Fortune 500 organization, and they're segments of the population where you have some departments that are just doing amazing and really in touch with what's going on. And then you have some that are so removed from the situation. And when you really think about it, it goes back to, where's the leadership of the team? And so each department or each segment of the organization has its own like microcosm within it.
Wow. I think Johnny disappeared for a second.
Yeah.
But he'll be back, like the Ghostbusters. So we'll continue. So real quick, like, give us some steps when you go into a company. What's the first thing? Because I feel like, me just being like a branch manager, a staffing firm before, there was that disconnect from like regional and leadership. Do you see that a lot?
As far as like, I've been a branch manager, I've been a regional leader, I've done those different roles, but as far as how they connect with their teams, is that what you're asking?
Like I want to say we call them the trenches, the front people.
Yeah.
The CEO really never gets to sit down and talk to maybe once a year at an event or something like that. Do you see the big disconnect on that?
Yeah, there's a disconnect out there because it seems like, and as the higher the ladder goes, that's where the leader becomes more removed sometimes from the day-to-day operation. And I'm going to speak very honestly. When I went from a branch manager of being in that team every single day, transitioning into like a regional leader where you have multiple different branches, that was a huge adjustment. That was a really big adjustment for me because I also had to learn how to lead through the leaders that I had as the branch managers instead of doing the actual work that I had done for many, many years. And that transition was not easy. So I really can relate to a lot of leaders that are in that transition stage because it was definitely uncomfortable. And I was so used to being a part of everything every day, and to understand how to now step back and lead through people, that was a big challenge for me. And that's where I really needed a mentor to help me understand how to lead and work on the business instead of working in the business every day. And there's a disconnect. And I really believe, here comes John back, I believe that a lot of leaders just don't understand how to make that transition. Maybe they've been a high performer, and let's be honest about this, especially in staffing. Who gets promoted to management? Most of the time, it's your high performer, because they're the ones they hit the KPIs, they're making the numbers, so tap them on the shoulder. They're the next manager when we have a need, and that was me. My gosh, I was a leader within, but I was an undeveloped leader within, and I did not understand that difference. And so it's setting them up for success. Like when they're going from that, are they really the right person with the right skill set that's been developed to lead people now and not just manage a P&L?
And it's interesting. I came in late. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm having connection issues. That's something. It's so funny you say that, Kelly, because we're addressing that internally where I am right now, and we've all been there. And the highest performers, A, are not always your best leaders. B, don't always want to be the best leaders, but feel like they have no other choice. And most of the time, to your point, are put into this position and just said, kind of figure it out, and not giving any type of training on what it takes to be in that next position. So I've always been of the mindset that if you hire someone, if you promote someone, if you move them into a position, if you don't provide the guidance and the development for that person to succeed, then shame on me as the company. If you do provide that guidance and then they fail, then shame on them. But as a company, you've got to provide that foundation for them and position them for success. Otherwise, it's really not fair.
It's so true. And I look back at, when that whole transition was coming about, and, I've worked with many different staffing leaders over the years, just in what I do now as well. And there's not a lot of programs that focus on developing the leader versus developing the manager within them of how to run that operational team versus run that people team. And those are two totally different skill sets. And it depends on how the team is set up as well. Are you a blended leader where you have to do both? Are you focusing more on the strengths of what you do really well? Like, are you more of the BD person, the business development person, or more of the recruiting leader? And I had to do both. That was the model that I always worked under. So I had to play both sides of it. But I was always better at one side, but I had to understand how to run all sides.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I'm going to shift gears for a second. We're our topic today is the power of networking, and you are a tremendous advocate of networking. Kelly did something during COVID that took on somewhat of a viral nature. And I want you to share the story about the Coffee with Kelly tribe and what you did, because I think it is one of the amazing successes that I personally have seen and witnessed during COVID. And tell us, what was it and how did it come about, and what impact did it end up having on some of those people that joined those calls?
It's very special to me. And I think all of us in the tribe are having a little withdrawal because I've taken a few weeks off just to have some vacation time and be with my boys for this summer and just do a few things. So I know that everybody's so anxious for it to come back, and it will in a couple weeks. But Coffee with Kelly was born because of everything shutting down, honestly. And in my business, if I wasn't out doing conferences and speaking at events and going into organizations to do development and coaching, then I wasn't able to survive. And so just like many other businesses, you had to pivot with purpose of how are you going to move. And I just looked within myself, and I always go back to my core values when I'm stuck. And I'm like, okay, let's recenter again. This is just going to be a blip on the radar. We'll get through it. But what am I really good at that will continue to help build connecting with people that will help in this pivot, allow me to still do what I love and develop and coach and train while there is a period of despair going on out there. There was hope that was needed. So this was literally March 10th was my last speaking engagement that was live. I remember it in 2020. That Monday, everything shut down, and I had email after email after email coming through saying keynote canceled, conference canceled, event canceled, thousands of dollars gone. And it was those 2 days over the weekend where I said, I got to move fast, because I didn't walk away from all this to have to go back to corporate America again. Like, what am I going to do? So I always went back to my roots. And people know me for Starbucks. They know me. I love coffee, and I love to add value and just motivate people to get their week started off strong and in a positive mindset. So I said, you know what? We're going to create a virtual world called Coffee with Kelly, a virtual coffee shop. March 23rd. On March 22nd, I was given a 30-minute Zoom training by one of my good friends, Nicole Adamson, who's a director of talent that I adore. And she uses Zoom all the time. She's like, Kelly, I'll do a tutorial with you. I didn't know anything about Zoom. She showed me all about it. That next day, Coffee with Kelly opened, and 6 people showed up on Zoom, and we just had a conversation, just literally a conversation. No, this was not scripted, just like what you guys are doing. And I just wanted to open up a place that was safe for people to come and share what they were feeling, what was going on, job transitioning, losing their job, helping them connect with other people, whatever it could, inspiring them. And we had 6 people, including me. And so we just started on a Monday, and we did it Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And then it just transitioned to this bigger platform where they kept telling other people about what the value they were getting and the community it was building. And Coffee with Kelly just kind of formed into this tribe. That's why we call it the tribe, where we have been meeting on Mondays and Fridays, 8 to 9 on Zoom Eastern time for a year and 4 months now. And just starting our week off with a positive leadership lesson, so everybody gets in the right mindset. We give an action item to go about after the week. And on Fridays, we come back and we celebrate what we've accomplished or people that we've helped get hired. We've placed over 73 people.
Holy cow.
In jobs.
Wow.
From the community of Coffee with Kelly, just from that tribe of connecting each other with each other.
There it is. And that is the power of networking. What I love, Kelly, is that you started not with any real objective except to have some sense of community, because we were all going through uncharted waters, and everybody was feeling like, okay, what's happening? The world is ending. And it was gloom and doom. And you provided that ray of that forum, if you will. Mm-hmm. And admittedly, I've only been in the coffee shop, a few times. I've been unable to join it as much as I'd want to. But it is true, Richard. It's amazing. You go in there and you go from having just a handful of people on a Zoom call to all of a sudden you're scrolling through page after page after page of people that are
oh man, I would love
this call. It's the power of networking, but it's also it's a testament to the power of positive thinking and just making that choice to look at things from a positive nature and to find the positive in life, as opposed to looking down and saying, all right, well, why is this happening to me? You threw out a number. I was curious as to if you knew how many people got placed through that effort. That is an amazing number.
Incredible.
And that's all through networking and people helping people, which is amazing.
It totally is. We have our own Slack channel now, community. So Coffee with Kelly goes 24/7. Like right now, when I'm not hosting it, there's a whole community inside where we have different resources for like help with resumes. We have a job opportunity. The most popular one is the job opportunity channel that we have. And I have a lot of my clients that come to Coffee with Kelly, a lot of HR leaders, a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, and just people that are in Coffee with Kelly. And so every day new jobs go in there. And so our community can scroll through and see, okay, so what's available? John, a lot of them are healthcare, by the way, FYI.
Here you go. Roll in, John.
Yeah, and so it just gives them a chance to go through instead of going into this bottomless pit on, a job engine sometimes. And there's wonderful job engines that do great things. Don't get me wrong. There's value in everything, but there's so much value when you have a connection to connect with that's part of a tribe that, and I kid you not, if someone sees a job posted in Coffee with Kelly, it's because someone is a tribe member that knows or is the hiring manager, that they can just pick up the phone and say, hey, I saw that in the tribe platform. Could you connect me? And that's where it's getting people out of these ATS systems that how frustrating they can be, and just helping get them above, out of the pile. So interviews for major companies have happened, offers for the companies people want to work for. We had an offer go out. This one I'm really proud of. We had a young man hired about, 2 months, maybe 3 months ago now, for a position at JM Family. And that is a company that so many people want to work for. And that happened because of what was in Coffee with Kelly. And that makes me so proud that we were able to help him start his career where he wanted to really start it, where it is not easy.
Well, and you've impacted unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, you've impacted many lives in a positive way. And again, when we talk about networking, it's making that warm introduction. It's all, who you know and who they know, and being a part of something, whether it's a Coffee with Kelly or whether it's a user group or some type of forum that has like-minded people in it. That can only enhance you both on a personal and a professional level, because you never know where relationships are going to lead you. I always kind of tilt my head sideways when a recruiter says, oh, I'm not going to call that candidate because I can't place them right now. And my response is always, that shouldn't be your focus. You don't know when you might be able to work with that candidate, but more importantly, you don't know who that candidate knows. And that's the value in creating that network, is really letting them tap into your network, letting you tap into their network, and really spidering out. And you never know where those relationships are going to lead.
Oh, that's exactly how the power of networking works. And it's flipping the mindset of how I always used to chase the KPIs to hit the metrics. So make so many calls, 50 calls a week, 200 calls a week, whatever, how many dials, and you got to connect. And it was about connecting that you got through instead of connecting that you got to someone. And when I think about how I used to network and how I've shifted my mindset there, it went from, I used to chase the success of it and the KPIs, and now it's chasing the significance of what I'm doing. And KPIs now stand for keep people inspired. I switched that in my mind. Nice. So KPIs are keep people inspired.
I'm writing that down, Kelly.
Yes, please. It's one of my favorite things I've thought of in my head that I love to share that. But I literally absolutely see the value in serving others before. Don't ask for anything. Like, so many people have it backwards.
You're right.
Everybody you talk to has value. Everybody. And a lot of times, let's go back to those old-fashioned networking events where you're all live and in person, or even on Zoom. We're doing our research. Who's going to be on this call, and what's their job title, and what's their influence, and who's in the room, and who's got the influence in the room. And that's who you go for. And I used to beeline for that person. I get it. And it's everybody now that I look at. There's value in every single person, that they all need something that maybe I can help them with. And when they approach it in that mindset, and it's give instead of take, like, I need you to buy from me. I need you to buy from me. I need you to buy from me.
Oh.
I was so over all that. Like, that's not who I am. That's not the values that I stand for. And
you know what? The society gets you all wrapped up, and it influences you in those directions. It's hard sometimes to pull away from that.
John, what's my famous quote? Giving equals growth. Bottom line.
Absolutely.
And that's
totally agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So you said something, Kelly, that I have to dive into, because being a recruiter, I sensed a window was opening and I have to walk through it. So you used the word significance.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of a certain individual. When you talk about who's in your network, a certain individual that has been a mentor to you and has been instrumental in helping you get where you are right now. Tell us a little bit of a background, if you will, about how you came to connect with the one and only John Maxwell.
And he is the one that changed it all. Absolutely. And the word significance came directly from him, because I never really thought about that word, but that's the reason I started looking at it this way when he shared, Kelly, once you've tasted significance, you'll never need success again. And that was in our initial conversation. But this goes back to 2014, where I was in that moment of leading a large team, but really needing some help in developing myself of how to be a better leader. I was great. Like I said, it hit in the numbers. I could crush the numbers like nothing. That's what I was known for. I was Money Murbler. That's what they used to call me. But I totally was ignorant and just didn't know how to connect with people and lead people through great leadership. And so I went looking for someone that could help me be a better version of who I already was. I just wanted to be better. And I didn't have those resources. So, it's not how many resources you have, it's how resourceful you are. I think Tony Robbins has said that many times. And I just said, all right, well, then I got to go find resources, because it's up to me. I can't, just point fingers at everybody else. I've got to do something with it. And that's where I just ended up going to a leadership conference. John Maxwell was the keynote speaker on a simulcast event. Never heard him speak, but I saw him all over the bestseller, shelf at Barnes and Noble, and that's where the connection was. I'm like, he must be good if he's got all these bestsellers on leadership. Every time I go to the bookstore,
he's got to know something.
He must. I mean, he knows, but that's how I've always been. I want to learn from the best in anything. When I wanted to be better at sales, I would find the best salesperson that I knew and learn from them. When I wanted to be better at leadership, I go find the best person. And so I said, this is the best person. I want to learn from the best. And I, knock on wood, I think it was a lot of divine intervention, but I sent John a letter asking for his help and his guidance. And out of thousands of letters that he gets, he somehow just decided mine was worth a call and picked up the phone. So that's where it all started in 2014.
That's I love hearing that story. I never get tired of it, because you did something that I took away I'm writing down all kinds of stuff. I learned so much from you, Kelly. And when you say seek out the best and learn from them, again, tying it all back into networking, don't be afraid to reach out to people, because by nature, we as humans want to help other people. You just do. Sure. Think about when people reach out to you, rarely do you shun them away. And if someone shuns you away, then they're probably not someone you want to learn from anyway, but that's another story. So when you say you seek out the best, so you went after to coin the Charlie Sheen quote from Wall Street, you went after the whale. You went after the big one, and you probably didn't have like real high expectations that it would lead where it led, but that didn't stop you from trying to reach out there. And that's something that everybody can learn from. Don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to step out your comfort zone. Worst case scenario, he doesn't reply to that letter.
Yep.
But you got the best case scenario, and you wouldn't have gotten that if you didn't make an attempt to connect with him. So that's something that hopefully people can take away and learn from, is don't be afraid to reach out to folks, and don't be intimidated by people. Just put yourself out there. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And there's so many that I have reached out to that I've never heard from. And that's why I say, like, it doesn't mean you're going to hear back from every single one, but it's about believing in yourself and your consistency and how you approach it in the ask. And it's very important. This is a very important piece. If you do get that someone to say they will give you their time, you better make sure they know that the time they gave you was valued, because you better show what you have done with that time that they have given you, because that's where you will earn more time if you really show that you're investing in what they've taught you and applying it. Because people want to see other people grow, and if they're going to give you time and advice and mentorship, I want to know, like, I would say this about myself. If I do that for someone, did you do something with it? Like, what did you do with it? Or was it just to say, oh, I talked to that person and that was great, and then you go back to doing nothing with it?
What a great message. And it's so true. So, we all take self-help development, we take courses, we go to seminars, etc. But how often have you gone to a seminar or seen a motivational speaker, got inspired, took lots of notes, went home, and then that book is sitting up on the shelf and you never opened it again? It's like, that's where, to your point, show that you're using that and putting it into, maybe not everything. You can't implement everything at once, but find nuggets that you want to do to put in to put into play and improve yourself. And that person, you'll earn more time with them if they see that you're actually listening and applying versus just listening. That's
Absolutely.
A great point.
No, it's so true. One of the things John always made me smile at is when he would gift me a book. Like, the first time we met, he gifted me the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and he put a message in it for me. And I wanted to have another meeting. Like, you can't just stop with one. I'm like, come on, we need one. Like, this is too good. And so I went back and I read that book cover to cover, and I highlighted and I made notes in it and everything. And when I went back and I showed him, like, one of the first things he did, he says, you read the book? He's like, you've highlighted, you've made notes. And he says, very few people do that. Very few people do that. So I appreciate that. And the more that I've gotten to know John and how valuable his time is, it's just like, I would never waste that, because so many people would want to have that kind of time with someone they really admire. And I'm not going to do nothing with what I was given. It was a gift.
That's awesome. And by doing that, you're giving him something too. So it totally goes both ways. And to your point earlier, when you reach out to folks, and hey, everybody on this show right now. So, Kelly, I think you and I met through LinkedIn. I think, and we took that, again, it's all about connecting, but you were gracious enough when I reached out to you and I realized that we lived close enough to each other. We met and had a face-to-face, and that's,
we had coffee. We had coffee, John.
I had coffee with Kelly before coffee with Kelly was a thing. We did have coffee, but so many people don't take that extra next step. I've always been one to say, hey, if I can have a conversation with you, I want to have a conversation. See, how can I help you grow your business, and what can your business do to help my team? And it might not happen. Stars might not explode initially, but you get those juices going, and you never forget. And I'm so thankful that we've stayed in touch and been able to help each other in different ways. Richard, you and I, American Staffing Association brought us together, and
Yep.
you knew of me, I knew of you, but you took that initiative. You reached out and said, "Hey, let's have a conversation." I want people to understand that you can't be afraid to do that, because you don't know where it's going to go. There's plenty of conversations that you'll have with people that will end right there at a conversation, but there's so many more that will lead to something down the road. And you don't know when it's going to lead to something, but if you don't have that initial conversation, you'll never get the chance to find out.
You're totally right. You got to ask, reach out.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to make a point, because this will go right back into my staffing days, is what you were talking about, the candidates, and just the valuing every candidate, and
Wow.
So many get ghosted, for example, and we all hear about that. And there's two sides to every story. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can't keep up with thousands of people. I get that. But how do you continue to build that connection and communicate?
Mm-hmm.
But I look back at some examples that I work with now that I mean, we're going back 15 years here, 10, 15 years with some of them, that they were candidates of mine that other recruiters placed from different agencies. I just didn't have anything at the time, but they now sit in very high-powered HR positions. And I was the one that continually stayed in touch with them, even if I didn't place them. And they didn't need me for staffing, for example. But when my business changed, and I became someone that does more consulting and executive coaching or developing for leaders, they use me for that. And they never forgot the care I gave them, that they weren't transactional, that they were a person and not someone I was there to make a paycheck off of, but someone that really cared about their well-being. And people will not forget that. So I say that because I think in recruiting, you can lose that sometimes when you're so focused on driving those KPIs. And from a leadership perspective, it's great to have 50 to 100 calls a week, but what really matters is who are you connecting with. It's going to lead to bigger doors as time goes on, because if you can't place them now, where are they going to go, and who are they going to remember? So that's a really important piece I leave here, because that can easily get lost.
You're so right on that. And I see it all the time. You got to be true to yourself and true to other people. Right, John?
Absolutely. And it's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine. And that's a great proof of concept that, again, you didn't make money back then when you were doing that. But so many recruiters are so short-sighted, and they want that one placement, that one fee, and move on. And if you talk to candidates, the number one reason why they don't like recruiters is because recruiters never call them back.
Yep.
And that's, you got to get rid of that selfishness attitude and be selfless. And if a candidate calls you, I always say, call them back. If they email you, email them back. It doesn't take that long. And even if they're, it's that person again that calls me 3 times a week wondering if I have anything for them, be thankful they're calling you. Take that call, because that's our business. It's like, that's what you get paid to do. And it's not about what can I make off this person now. It's about what service can I provide to them, because I don't know where this is going to lead down the road. That person might end up being, to your point, Kelly, I love that story, because now they are in a position and they're hiring you and they're giving you business because you stayed in touch with them back in the days where you didn't do business with them. So that's awesome.
Yeah. This is all going into connecting with people and networking. The other thing, I love this word too. It's not networking, it's network giving. So what are you giving to your network to help them get where they want to be and where they want to go? So network giving is how I approach network. I give and give and give and give. And I'm a great example, and I can count numerous times in building my company of how that has come back to me without asking for something. It's the power of giving.
And that's so true. Over and over again, you said the same thing. Don't ask for anything in return.
Yeah.
Don't expect it. Just do your thing and move on. They're going to come back to you.
Yeah.
John, any final thoughts on this
Wow.
great episode of Leadership in the Network?
I have thoroughly enjoyed this. The stuff that sunk in with me. I love the fact that KPI stands for Keep People Inspired. And the quote, one of the quotes that I will forever remember is, it's not how many resources you have, it's how resourceful you are. So many times, and when we tie this back to recruiting and staffing, how many times we recruiters say, I need more resources. I need access to this site, to that site, et cetera. I need phone lists. I need directories, blah, blah, blah. There were days when none of us had any of that. And somehow we found a way.
I had a phone book. Literally.
Somehow we found a way to make it.
People know what that looks like. It was a yellow pages. That was it.
You know,
and then you get the ruler out, right, Kelly? You get the ruler out so you don't call the same number again.
Yeah.
You know, we had to be resourceful. And thank God, because we really learned how to do the business. The more tools you have at your disposal, I think the less you ground yourself in the real fundamentals of the recruiting business, because technology, you almost start using it like a crutch. But rather than think of, hey, I need all these resources, I like it. You know, force yourself to be more resourceful and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Somebody knows what you need to know. Are you just talking to enough people that could help you with what you need to know? So you got to communicate, but you got to connect through the communication. That's the important piece.
Well said.
Well said. Well, hey, Kelly, thank you so much again. Where can everybody find you at on your social media platforms?
Obviously LinkedIn. Now I'm on a little break right now, but I will be back after vacation. But LinkedIn all the time. That's where I'm at. And then kellymarblerco.com is my website. But I do LinkedIn Lives on leadership. Coffee with Kelly. There you go. There's a great invite for out there. Mondays and Fridays, 8 to 9 on Zoom. You both are always welcome, and it's free. So, hey,
how can people join the coffee shop?
All you need to do on my website is upcoming events, and I always post when we have Coffee with Kelly events, and they can just register right there through my Eventbrite link. So
awesome.
Super easy. And if you're in our Slack channel, I just put the Zoom link right there for everybody to easy access if they forget to register. Yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you so much again. I'm going to sum it up like this, John, and you're going to love this, man. The power of networking is like a famous song from the 80s, The Power of Love. Love each other, and the networking will come. Simple as that.
Is it bad that I know exactly what song you're talking about?
The Power of Love. Come on now.
I do too. Huey Lewis and the News.
That's it.
That's right. Back to the Future. You know it. But hey, once again, awesome. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on. See everybody next week. Same time, same place. Take care.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Bye.